Thank you so much for supporting me by being a Patreon member. Share this with everybody you know. Even though you're a Patreon member, you can share these videos. So share them, and then maybe other people will want to sign up, and they can have an awesome garden just like you. Today, what I'm going to show you is how we are transversing from winter how we are transversing from summer to winter. That's what I tried to say. So we are transitioning because it has frozen. You can see the limpiness of these guys. And so we are changing this from what was growing here in the summertime to our winter crops. We have more months of cold weather here than we have of warm weather. Now, a lot of these things are still good. We can still come in and pick a few of these tomatoes and eat them. But here's what's happening. I'm going to leave this trellis in place. We have biodegradable sisal hay twine that we trained the tomatoes up with. So this will just become compost over time. These sticks here were coyote willows, and we just went and cut those and stuck them in here. They will decompose over time. So the sisal, is it going to feed fungus or is it going to feed bacteria? Well, this is fungal food. What about the sticks? Are they going to feed fungus or bacteria? They will feed fungus because it's fungal food. It's a woody type thing. What about these weeds I picked the other day and threw in here? Is this fungus food or is this bacteria food? This is bacteria food. So we are getting our green components to feed the soil to create a detritosphere, and we have our woody components to feed the detritosphere. And I'm just going to put that big old long bean pole in there, just like that. It's getting old and wore out. See how it's been growing for a few years. This is going to break super easy. It's not strong enough to hold up a heavy cucumber for next year or a heavy tomato plant. So it's time to compost it. So it's going to go right there. So this entire row is going to be filled in with weeds that I pick and the parts and pieces of leaves and other things that we don't take to the kitchen. We will cut the carrot tops off. They go in here. And so anything that we would put in a compost goes in here throughout the winter. So this is a compost in place. And this is going to fill up. And then we will inoculate this with the compost from the worm bin, which is right over here. So we have the compost over here in the worm bin. We will make an inoculant, and we will put that extract all over here. When I say inoculant and extract, same thing. I had some cabbages growing in here, and this one is still growing in there. So we cut the cabbage out of the middle. The plant is still there, and it's still growing. The peppers. Here's pepper plants that we had, but they're dead and dying and done. We picked the peppers, and now these will go to the compost. There's some old beets here that we picked, and we picked the big ones and took them away. The ones we discarded are still there. These are certainly big enough to eat, but I am growing food to feed the microbes. So that's a beautiful beet. We could totally eat this beet, but the microbes have to eat too. They're my most important livestock. People wouldn't have a pet dog or a cat and not feed it. So I don't have pet fungus and bacteria without feeding them. So I grow food for them too. There it is. They're going to eat that and make a beautiful, thriving soil. Here we have a tomatillo plant. Here's the tomatillos. And we eat all we want, but there's a whole bunch of extra. Some people get angry with me and say, you're wasting food. Well, nobody showed up to buy it, so I got to feed my microbes something. We have an herb garden, and here's great big beautiful comfrey leaves. And so the yellow leaves on the bottom, I picked those off, and I brought them over here. You can see how beautiful it's being consumed by the microbes. Wow. So this will get filled up over the next couple of months during the winter, and this will compost in place. And then next year, these are still going to be here in place. I will just drill a little hole right down here on the ground, about every foot or every 16 inches. I'll drill holes through here, and I'll put new tomato transplants. And then the tomatoes can just grow right up this compost pile and this beautiful detritosphere on bed number 4 here. is going to be feeding all of the microbes and the earthworms and whatever other soil critters there are, all the microarthropods and macroarthropods and chytreids. The list goes on, but we're going to create a wonderful soil here without having to do all the work of taking this trellis out and making a compost somewhere else. It's too much work to take it out and make a compost and bring it in. I'll just compost it right here. Hopefully this helps you to have a compost in the most important space in your life.